I've had an idea. My idea is a Dutch pour rose. So not a traditional Dutch pour, but a Dutch pour where I put just a little bit of paint down at a time and blow across it using a straw, using my breath, and build up the layers that I'm blowing out to create the petals, to create the different layers of a rose. No idea whether it can work or not. It's in my head. In theory, I think it should. I've done a few Dutch pours recently where I've done some layers. So just a little bit of paint at a time, blowing that out, then putting another layer of paint in and blowing that out. So it builds up a layered effect. So I want to try it to create a rose. So I've picked out all the reds I have, which there aren't that many reds, but also some slightly pinky, slightly violety colours, maybe a little bit of bronze, maybe gold, I'm not quite sure yet, to create the rose. So really excited to see if this will work. I'm going to use these colours, so mostly Amsterdam. So I've got bronze, carmine, primary magenta, permanent red violet. I've got quinacridone rose and some black. And then I've got this one, Montmartre Old Rose. So it's just another really rich red. So a couple of pinks, a violet, couple of reds, a bronze and a black. Now I'm going to mix these to my Dutch pour consistency. However, I have run out of Flood Floetrol, and I'm in the UK. It costs about £70 to get a bottle of Flood Floetrol here, which is just insanely expensive, so I'm not going to do it. So instead I'm going to mix these with PVA glue and water. PVA glue is so cheap. I buy trade PVA glue, so it's about £10 for 5 litres, and I'm going to mix that with the paint to create the same sort of solution, the same consistency, which I'll show you in a minute. So here's my canvas. It's just a small one. It's a 30 centimetre. You can see I've just sketched on my rose. So the edge of the rose is here and here, and then these are leaves. There's a leaf there, there, and there, and there. So you can see the rose is just this part here. So my plan now is to do just the rose, leave the rest of the canvas bare and dry, and then I'm going to let the rose dry. Then I'm going to probably cover the rose with frog tape just to protect it, and then think about how to do the surroundings. So for the moment, I'm going to just pour the rose. So I'm going to start with the outside petals. I think, yeah, I'm just going to start with this one at the top. Now, I had this idea of putting a little bit of black right at the bottom, and then blowing the petal from the bottom of the petal upwards, just to get the slightly darker at the base. Let me show you the consistency. So because this is a brand new mixture, it's a bit of an experiment, but I mixed pouring medium 2:1, so 2 parts PVA glue to 1 part water, and then I've just mixed this 3:1, so 3 parts pouring medium to 1 part paint. So in each cup I put 60 grams of pouring medium and I put 20 grams of paint. That worked really well for the Amsterdam paints, apart from the bronze, and it was like a really thick stodge. So I had to add some extra water because that's normal for the iridescent colours. So I think because I want this to be quite precise, I mean, instead of actually pouring it, I think I might just actually try and drizzle it on with my stir stick. Now I don't know if I've got this consistency right because it's a brand new mixture. Right, I'm going to try this with a straw. So I'm first of all just going to blow the paint towards me, just so it perfectly aligns the pencil markings. In fact, I'll come around this side, it'll be easier. Right, so that's now on the pencil markings really nicely. There's a little bit of an overlap there. And in fact, there's no black there. Oh, well, let's leave that for now. So let's see what happens. If I blow the paint upwards towards that outer line, right, let's have a think. So it worked really well. I love the little lines. I think there's too much black, and I think generally there is just too much paint on there. It's very, very thick around the top. Okay, I'm going to take that off and I'm going to go again, but with less paint. Right, I've redrawn on the edge of the petals. I've also added 10 grams of water to each of the colours because I think they were too thick. I was having to blow on it so hard to try and get the paint to move. So I've added, it's just a little bit more fluid now. And I think that's going to work better. So I'm going to go again. I'm going to try and put the smallest bit of black down here. I don't want black to take over. I just want a tiny little bit. Right, that's worked much, much better. The only thing I'm not happy with is the bluntness of the black. So I wonder if I shouldn't have done the black or whether I could just drag something through it just to try and help it to blend a bit more. No, I don't like that either. I think the black is just too harsh, actually. I think what I might do is keep out the black, but then maybe draw some black back in afterwards, embellish it. The consistency of that was much, much better. I was much happier with it. I think I'm going to leave the black out and add that in when it's dry. Third time lucky. Let's add some of the deepest mauvey colour at the bottom this time instead. Now this will move a little bit as it dries because the paint is much thicker here now than it is here, but actually that doesn't matter. Right, I'm happy enough to continue. So let's turn this round. Let's go for this big petal here. So again, I'm just going to put a line of the dark along the bottom. So you might think this looks a bit of a mess, but I'm really hoping when this is dry, I'm going to embellish it and shade it a bit more, and you're going to see the petals. So I'm really happy it's worked. So just for example, do you remember there was a line here? So basically wherever the really dark bit is the separation between the petals. It's definitely gone more jagged. It's not perfect by any means, but I think I can work with that. I think once it's dry, I'll be able to add a little bit of shading and define the petals. The colours are gorgeous. It's so pretty. It's definitely red, but it's not just plain red. You've got a few other colours added in. So really happy. So when it's dry, I will, as I said, I will cover it in frog tape and then work on the outside of the painting. Right, so a couple of days later, the rose dried beautifully. So happy with it. What I've done now is covered it in frog tape, so it's totally protected. And then I'm going to do the outside. Now, if you remember, when I scraped the rose, I left a great big red splodge at the side here, and there was a bit of red on the canvas here as well. So what I've just done with some just neat acrylic paint is just done some simple brush strokes out in a sort of star shape a couple of times just to hide that. So now I've got a nice white surround because the red was just showing through, and I thought, well, if I pour paint straight on this now, fluid art paint mixture, it's probably going to show through if the paint's at all transparent. So I've painted it, I've covered it, so I'm now ready to pour on here. I'd like to keep some of the background as just white like this, but the rest I want to do with some greens. I want to paint on some leaves. So I've sketched on some leaves here, but I think what I'm going to do is actually have the leaves going off the edges of the canvas. There's a couple of leaves here which finish before the edge of the canvas, but I think I'm just going to have it more, I'm going to have the green further to the edge. So I've got some more Dutch pour consistency paint here. What I'm going to do is drizzle some on, and then I'm going to blow that outwards in every direction. So I've got here two greens. I've got Sap Green by Amsterdam, and I've got Iridescent Green Yellow by Pebeo Studio Acrylics. So I'm going to just drizzle it on where I think the outline of the leaves are going to be. So as I was doing that, my plan actually changed. I love how the colours just blend together and float together. And to start with, I wanted very well defined leaves, but actually I realised I really like it when it's really floaty and more irregular at the edges. So I added another leaf in. I've really fanned the leaves out. So actually there's not very much white left at all. But I think it just makes it look a little bit softer. The rose in the middle is going to be very stark edge, so actually to have this a little bit softer and a little bit floatier at the edge, I think it's going to work really well. I just like how the colours overlap and interact together, and you get a bit of lacing there. If you can get that dark green over the top of the white, it creates a really pretty lacing, which I've got on quite a few of the flowers. I think I will probably define the flowers a bit more when it's dry. For example, there, that might look a bit odd, but that's just the gap between two leaves. So I don't know whether to actually just, no, I like the gap. I don't want, I've got that in 3 places. I'm going to leave it. So it looks a little bit, almost like some leaves that are all out of focus, a little bit obscure, but yeah, quite happy with that. So I'll be back when it's dry. So it's now finished. I've embellished it just a little bit, just to highlight the differences in the petals, and I'm so pleased with it, so happy with it. Let me show you up close. I'll show you what I've done. So I've used a black pen just to outline all of the petals. I've also used some deep red just to shade a little bit around where the black is. And then I've used a little bit of silver just to create almost like a reflection on the rosy, on the petals. But I know you wouldn't really get reflections, but I think it just helps to show, you know, here's the darker bit, here's the lighter bit. I think it just helps to give it just a bit more contrast, because it was just looking a bit too dark. The petals are beautiful. I love how they look really fiery, how you've got dark at the bottom, and then it just gets, and then it gets lighter towards the top on every single one. So pretty, such a fun way of using a Dutch pour technique, of doing it bit by bit. Really enjoying the process of this. My leaves I haven't touched. Not 100% happy with my leaves. They're I don't know, I like to define things a bit more, so I guess that's just me struggling to not define them as well, or not to outline them or embellish them. But I think if I did, it would look wrong, because the rose is so well defined. I think it actually just works better to have it, I think I said when I was pouring it, looking like it's a bit more out of focus. So yeah, overall, love it, so happy. The image I had in my mind, I've definitely been able to get more or less on canvas, so really happy. Please let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on the process, the overall result. I'd love to know. Great, take care. Bye.